What if everything you've been taught about doing the right thing is incomplete? Not wrong, just incomplete. We live in a world obsessed with rules, checklists, protocols, and incentives. Do this, get rewarded. Don't do that, get punished. Follow the procedure, stay out of trouble. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. It sounds safe. But here's what nobody tells you. And this is the part that changes everything. Rules can tell you what not to do. Logic can tell you what to do, but neither of them can tell you how to do it right. Not in the real, complicated, deeply human moments that actually define your life. That gap between knowing what's right and actually doing it is where most people silently fall apart. And today, we're going to talk about the one thing that can close it. This is the summary of Practical Wisdom, written by Barry Schwartz and Kenneth Sharpe. And if you've been here before, you might remember Barry Schwartz from our previous episode on why we work. This book is different, deeper. It doesn't want to teach you strategies or hacks. It wants to wake something up inside you that modern life has been quietly putting to sleep. Let's begin. In today's world, almost every human behavior is managed by one of two tools: rules or incentives. Rules tell you what you can and can't do. Incentives reward you for doing what the system wants. A salesperson hits a target, they get a bonus. A doctor scores below a quality threshold, they face consequences. A judge gives a sentence within a specific range and nobody questions it because it follows the law. These systems seem sensible, they feel organized, measurable, safe. But Schwartz and Sharpe argue that something crucial is missing. In too many situations, a human being needs to think for themselves, not just obey. Rules and incentives create a kind of psychological safety net. They say as long as you follow the rules, you're protected. But that's exactly the problem. That safety net becomes a cage. Rules are essentially anti-error devices. They're designed to minimize mistakes by eliminating judgment. But here's the cost. When you eliminate judgment, you also eliminate wisdom. And wisdom is the one thing that can navigate the moments rules can't reach. So why does this matter? Why is practical wisdom actually necessary? First, real life is full of exceptions. Every general rule eventually meets a situation it wasn't designed for. Real circumstances are messy, contradictory, and constantly surprising. What do you do when the rule and the right thing to do point in opposite directions? Second, values compete. In most meaningful moral situations, there isn't just one right thing to pursue. There's fairness, there's effectiveness, there's compassion, there's responsibility. You can't just pick one and ignore the rest. Practical wisdom is what allows you to hold all of them at once and still decide. Third, there's what the authors call structural pressure. Organizations, institutions, and systems constantly push people toward rigid rule following, even when those people sense that something more is needed. The pressure to conform is enormous, and over time it wears down the instinct to question. And finally, and this is perhaps the most alarming consequence, there's what the authors call moral de-skilling. When behavior is handed over entirely to rules and procedures, the muscle of moral judgment stops getting exercised. It atrophies. And then one day, when you're standing in a situation where no rule applies, where no protocol covers what's in front of you, you discover that you've forgotten how to think for yourself. You freeze. Or worse, you do the expedient thing instead of the right thing. This is the quiet crisis at the heart of modern life, and it's hiding in plain sight. So what exactly is practical wisdom? Let's define it carefully, because this isn't just a vague feel-good concept. Barry Schwartz and Kenneth Sharpe describe practical wisdom as something far beyond intelligence or theoretical knowledge. In simple terms, practical wisdom is the ability to recognize what needs to be done in a real situation in order to bring about the right outcome, even when the rules say something different, or when no rules exist at all. The ancient Greeks had a word for this. Aristotle called it phronesis, a kind of practical, action-oriented wisdom that enables a person not just to succeed, but to act well. Aristotle believed that a truly good person was someone who could navigate between competing moral values in real-world situations, between justice and forgiveness, between honesty and kindness, not by choosing one and abandoning the other, but by finding the path that honored both. Schwartz and Sharpe are working in that same tradition. They argue that practical wisdom is the combination of three things: experience, empathy, and judgment. Experience provides the raw material for decision-making. Without lived experience, including failure, confusion, and regret, there is simply nothing to draw from. Empathy allows a person to truly understand another's situation, not just intellectually, but emotionally. It closes the distance between you and the person you're trying to help. And judgment is the capacity to look at all available options and choose the one that, in this specific moment, produces the greatest good. Not the most legally defensible option, not the most convenient option, the most human one. The authors make a striking observation about modern life. The problem isn't that people don't know what's right. The problem is that they don't know how to do what's right. The law and the structure might define what's correct, but they say nothing about how to act with wisdom, care, and humanity in the space between what's permitted and what's needed. This is the exact place where practical wisdom lives. One of the book's most powerful examples comes from medicine. A doctor may know every clinical guideline, every protocol, every checklist, but if that doctor cannot see the human experience behind a patient's symptoms, the fear, the exhaustion, the story, the treatment might be technically correct and still utterly fail. A doctor who only works from a checklist might catch the illness but lose the person. Practical wisdom in medicine means seeing the patient, not just the disease. The same applies in education. A teacher who only cares about grades, who enforces strict rules and tight control, may destroy the very thing they're supposed to cultivate, the genuine desire to learn. But a teacher who understands when to push and when to give space, when a student needs a challenge and when they need permission to breathe, that teacher is practicing practical wisdom every single day. And here's what the authors are most insistent about. You cannot teach this from a book or a course. You cannot download it. You have to live it. Practical wisdom grows only through real experience, through failure, through hesitation, through the quiet sting of guilt when you realize you got something wrong. It is, as the authors say, like a muscle. If you don't train it, it weakens, and if the environments you live and work in never give you the chance to use it, it eventually disappears. Empathy plays an absolutely foundational role here. A person with practical wisdom must be able to genuinely place themselves in another's position, not out of sentimentality, but for the sake of moral clarity. Someone without empathy may make a decision that is perfectly logical and devastatingly inhumane. And the scary thing is, they may never even notice. The authors also make clear that practical wisdom is not the same as lawlessness. A wise person knows and respects the rules, but they understand that the spirit of a law is always more important than its letter. They know that rules were created to serve human beings, and when a rule stops serving that purpose, something else must step in. That something else is wisdom.
Now, let's talk about why our current systems are actively working against the development of practical wisdom. Schwartz and Sharpe argue that most modern institutions, from schools and hospitals to government bureaucracies and private corporations, were designed with the best intentions, order, and efficiency. But in pursuing those goals, they've gradually redirected human behavior away from judgment and toward compliance. In hospitals, doctors must justify every decision through forms and protocols. In schools, teachers are evaluated almost exclusively on standardized test results. In corporations, performance is measured in numbers, targets, and quarterly outputs. In every one of these environments, the message is the same: don't think, comply. The result is that people learn to operate according to the system, not according to their conscience. This is what the authors call moral de-skilling. When people are rewarded for following instructions and punished for straying from them, they lose the motivation to practice moral judgment. They stop asking why. They focus entirely on how to meet the metric, how to hit the target, how to avoid the penalty. And then suddenly, when they faced a situation where no rule or metric applies, they have nothing. Their moral instincts have gone silent. They are, in the most profound sense, lost. The authors give vivid examples of this throughout the book. Consider mandatory minimum sentencing in the criminal justice system. Judges in many jurisdictions are required to impose fixed penalties regardless of the individual circumstances of a case. A person who committed a minor offense, but whose background, situation, and humanity call for a different response, still receives the same sentence as someone far more dangerous. In this system, the judge is no longer a judge in any meaningful sense. They have become a legal machine, a processor of cases, not aware of justice. In education, standardized testing has caused a similar collapse. When teachers are evaluated on test scores, they stop teaching students how to think. They teach them how to pass tests. Students may score well, they may be completely unprepared for life. The deeper damage is invisible. Institutions that pursue zero error inadvertently produce zero learning. And a person who has never been allowed to make a genuine mistake and learn from it has never actually grown. So, what does a person with practical wisdom actually look like? The authors identify 6 core characteristics that appear consistently in people who embody this kind of wisdom. Think of this as the anatomy of a wise person. The first characteristic is situational perception. Wise people don't just see the surface of a situation, they see what's hidden underneath. A judge who looks at a defendant not merely as a rule breaker, but as a human being with a history, a context, and a set of pressures most people will never understand. A teacher who recognizes that the student acting out in the back of the class isn't being defiant, they're terrified. The second characteristic is moral imagination. This is the ability to envision multiple possible paths through an ethical situation and to genuinely understand the consequences of each one. It's the creativity that allows a person to move beyond the simple binary of right and wrong and into the far more honest territory of competing goods and unavoidable trade-offs. The third characteristic is self-regulation. A wise person can hold their emotions, their anger, their impatience, their frustration, long enough to make a decision that comes from reason, not reaction. The authors remind us that good judgment requires distance between the trigger and the response. A wise person breathes first, then they decide. The fourth is experience and repetition. Wisdom is impossible without time. And not just the time of success, the time of failure, of second guessing, of lying awake wondering if you made the right call. Those moments are not setbacks, they are the curriculum. Failure is the most important teacher wisdom has. The fifth is moral courage. This may be the most important of all. Practical wisdom sometimes means deciding against the system. It means the teacher who defies the principal's instructions and gives a struggling student one more chance. It means the doctor who goes beyond the protocol because the protocol isn't seeing the person. Moral courage is the willingness to accept the consequences of a human decision and to make it anyway. And the sixth characteristic is purpose. A person with practical wisdom always has a horizon beyond personal reward or personal safety. Their compass is oriented toward growth, service, meaning, or to common good. And purpose is what gives judgment direction. Without it, experience becomes random. With it, even mistakes become meaningful. The authors are careful to point out that none of these characteristics are fixed traits you're born with. Every single one can be cultivated. The method is simple, if not easy: practice. In every small decision, ask yourself, am I doing the right thing in the right way? That question, repeated daily, is the weight training for the muscle of judgment. One of the most quietly devastating stories in the book is this. A nurse working the night shift notices that one of her patients, an elderly man who has been in visible distress, has family members arriving to see him. It is the middle of the night. Visiting hours were long over. Every hospital protocol says she should send them away. She doesn't. She lets them stay. Because she knows something the protocol doesn't. This man will not survive until morning. This is the last chance his family will ever have to be with him. And in that moment, the rule is not protecting anyone. It is only getting in the way of something irreplaceable. That decision, quiet, unofficial, invisible to any performance review, is practical wisdom in its purest form. It is small, it is human, and it is exactly the kind of thing that no system will ever be able to teach, reward, or even properly see. Or consider the judge who closed a courtroom to the press in order to protect the dignity of a defendant who had already been publicly humiliated. The law didn't require it. Nothing in the protocol demanded it. He simply understood in that specific moment that the right thing required more than the rule allowed. These decisions may seem minor, but they are made of something that bureaucracy never is: humanity. Practical wisdom is quiet on the outside, but it is an act of courage at its core. Because in a world where everyone has retreated to the safety of rules and numbers, the person who still dares to think and feel, who still insists on seeing the human being standing in front of them, is doing something genuinely radical. They are defending what it means to be a person. Now, the authors turn to the larger picture, to society and institutions. Because even when individuals want to act with wisdom, the structures they operate inside can make it nearly impossible. So if we want practical wisdom to flourish, not just in individual people, but across entire communities, we need to design environments that make that kind of human judgment possible. Most institutions today work through two instruments: rules and incentives. The rule says what you cannot do. The incentive says what you'll get if you do what the system wants. These tools can move behavior, but they only ever produce the minimum. They create people who do just enough to avoid punishment, or just enough to earn the reward. The larger goal, the genuine human purpose behind the institution, gets lost. This is why the authors believe institutional design must change. Systems must be built in ways that trust people, that give them space to decide, and that treat error not as something to be eliminated, but as a necessary part of growth. One example from the book: legal systems that give judges discretion to tailor punishment to the human reality of each case, rather than forcing them to apply a fixed formula, produce outcomes that are not only more just, but more effective. Because justice is not arithmetic. In the corporate world, the same logic holds. Companies that treat employees as full citizens of the organization, not as interchangeable parts of a machine, perform better. Because people who feel that they belong to a purpose rather than a payroll bring something irreplaceable to their work. They bring wisdom. The authors call this structural trust. Designing a system that believes in people from the start and gives them the room to exercise their own judgment rather than outsourcing every decision to a rule. And yes, this model is harder because when people have judgment, they will sometimes use it badly. Human judgment is not perfect, but here's the crucial insight. It is only from within those imperfect, uncertain, sometimes painful choices that wisdom is actually born. Institutions that try to reduce error to zero are, in practice, reducing learning to zero. And institutions without learning are institutions without a future. The authors offer a beautiful metaphor for what healthy institutions should look like. They should behave, they say, not like engineers, but like gardeners. An engineer wants complete control. They measure everything, calibrate everything, regulate everything. But a gardener understands something an engineer never quite does. Growth cannot be controlled, it can only be cultivated. A gardener prepares the right conditions, the soil, the water, the light, and then trusts the living thing to do what living things do. Institutions, the authors say, need to do the same. Create the conditions for human flourishing, and then trust the humans. In the final pages of the book, Schwartz and Sharpe bring everything together into a vision for where we need to go. The world today needs practical wisdom more than ever before, because we are living in an era where technology moves faster than ethics, where decisions grow more complex than any law can fully anticipate, and where individual human beings are increasingly getting lost inside systems that were supposed to serve them. In this kind of world, the one thing that can still light the path forward is human judgment. The authors believe we are trapped between two extremes. On one side, blind, uncritical obedience to rules. On the other, pure self-interest and indifference. Practical wisdom is the third way, the path between them, a way of living that honors both the law and the human being, that sees structure as a tool, useful, necessary, limited, rather than a master. They return one final time to the examples that have run through the book like a heartbeat. The doctor, the judge, the nurse, and now a police officer who, when confronted with a teenager who has made a serious mistake, chooses conversation over handcuffs because the goal is correction, not revenge. And a parent who, instead of shouting at a child who won't listen, sits down and listens first, because behind every act of defiance, there is almost always an unmet need hiding. These are not dramatic gestures, they are ordinary moments, and they are the place where practical wisdom actually lives, not in boardrooms or courtrooms, but in the quiet, everyday decision to see the person in front of you. The hopeful message at the heart of this book is this: practical wisdom can be rebuilt. It starts in families, grows in schools, deepens in workplaces, and is eventually embedded in the culture of public institutions. It doesn't require a revolution, it requires a choice. The choice made daily by each of us within our own sphere of influence to keep humanity alive in the work we do. The authors close with something close to a manifesto. Doing the right thing in the right way is not a slogan, it is the very foundation of a sustainable society. When decisions are made purely on the basis of profit or self-protection, everyone eventually loses. But when decisions are grounded in genuine human judgment, even the mistakes carry meaning. Even the failures teach something true. And perhaps the whole book can be distilled into a single distinction, clean and quiet and worth carrying with you. Rules tell you what not to do. Reason tells you what to do. But practical wisdom tells you how to do it right. This is Practical Wisdom by Barry Schwartz and Kenneth Sharpe.